Good morning, Armor Down. Welcome to today's practice. The title for today's practice is, Who Are You Protecting? And, if you ask yourself, okay, who am I protecting? You think to yourself, well, maybe it's family, community, friends, nation. Who are you protecting? And the question is, how are you doing it? How are you protecting family, community, nation? And then I guess the question is, how well are you doing it? On a scale of 1 to 10, how well are you protecting whomever, whatever you're protecting now? So if I were to answer that question, I would say I'm at a 7. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'm at a 7 for how well I'm protecting who I am protecting. So it's my family, my community, but also the United States. I still feel very committed to the mission of Virginia War Memorial, the mission of Armor Down to support veterans. The realization that only a small percentage of the American community participates in the military. So I still feel very connected to that. And so how am I doing it? On a scale of 1 to 10, I'd say a 7, and what would a 9 look like? I think a 9 would look like, more integration, more kind of disparate groups, kind of more interwoven. An example of how I could, what it would look like if I was doing less than I am now. I think, I think there would be less of an understanding of how to do it on the ground. I think if I I think I'd be at a 5, right, instead of a 7 if I, wouldn't have changed up things inside myself. In particular, if I hadn't kind of adjusted my alcohol consumption, hadn't adjusted my food consumption. So that's kind of what a 5 would look like. I mean, I'm curious of what it would look like for you and if you've ever really thought about it. And before we get into today's practice, I'll share with you the 22nd stanza of The Art of Peace. And this is kind of where my understanding of, how I could protect those that I'm protecting now even better versus, if even worse, right? And you'll see what I'm talking about here. In the 22nd stanza, the penetrating brilliance of swords wielded by followers of the way strike at the evil enemy lurking deep within their own souls and bodies. So that's where I'm at in my kind of relationship to my forever mission. I'm just never not going to be that guy that is thinking about the whole and how to protect it, thinking about those inside of the whole and how to protect them and how to foster their best. Like that's where I'm at with my children. And the real enemy is in myself, right? The real enemy is kind of the old habits, the old patterns, the old inner routines that are selfish or kind of integrated only into my own kind of desires and my own kind of, selfish needs. And so that's what the stanza is talking about. The penetrating brilliance of swords wielded by followers of the way. That is awareness itself. That's the penetrating brilliance. That is awareness being shot through all the stuff that's thoughts and analysis and media and all this other kind of stuff, just cut right through it. And inside's empty, right? Inside that space is empty. And it's from that emptiness, the absence of all this stuff, that your true brilliance strikes or comes out. That's the Like that's the kind of the thought process, right? It's articulated in a kind of a poetic way, but that's important because we have to see this not as an analytical, intellectual thing, but as a reality that only the individual, you, me, only we can penetrate. No one else can penetrate my inner patterns. Only I can do that. And so if you want to do that too, if you answered the question, who am I protecting? And people popped into your mind or the American flag popped into your mind. If that's the case, then how are you doing it? And if you could protect better, what would you be willing to do? And that's the practice. So, if you want to go from asking yourself that question, seeing the potential of an answer, and then practicing that answer, make the plunge into Patreon. There's three levels now. There's the enlisted level, there's the NCO level, and then there's the future leadership level. So you can make that plunge into those levels and practice answering this question. So with that, I'll leave you here. So think about Patreon, because where we're going on the other side is we're taking this intellectual question and we're turning it into an actual practice. So hopefully I'll see you on the other side of this.